When the dark tide of World War II swept across Europe, few stories shone as fiercely against the night as that of the Night Witches, a squadron of young Soviet women who took to the skies in fragile biplanes and became one of the most feared forces in the entire German war campaign. Their real name was the 5th 88th Night Bomber Regiment, later honored as the 46th Tamon Guards Night Bomber Aviation Regiment. But to the German soldiers who faced their fury in the dead of night, they were known only by one name: Nachthexen, the Night Witches. The year was 1941. Hitler's armies had invaded the Soviet Union in a brutal campaign known as Operation Barbarossa, pushing deep into Soviet territory. The Red Army was desperate for every able hand, yet women were still barred from combat. But one woman dared to challenge that rule. Her name was Marina Ruskova, the most famous female aviator in the USSR, often called Russia's Amelia Earhart. Having already broken long-distance flight records, Ruskova used her fame to persuade Joseph Stalin to allow the creation of all-female combat units, and so 3 women's air regiments were born. Among them, the 5th 88th would rise to immortality. The recruits came from every corner of the Soviet Union: students, teachers, clerks, even factory workers, many barely 19 or 20 years old. They trained under harsh winter winds, wearing oversized men's uniforms that they stitched to fit their smaller frames. Their training bases were primitive, their tools basic, yet what they lacked in equipment, they made up for in spirit. They were determined to prove that courage knew no gender. When they received their aircraft, laughter echoed across the airfield. The Polikarpov Po-2, a small, slow, open cockpit biplane made of wood and canvas, looked like something from another era. It could carry only 2 bombs at a time. It had no radar, no armor plating, no radio, and no parachutes. But the Night Witches would soon discover that these fragile machines could perform miracles in the right hands. At dusk, they would prepare their planes for flight. Wrapped in layers of wool against the freezing night air, they scribbled mission coordinates by the dim glow of lanterns. Each night, they would fly in total darkness. No lights, no instruments, only the stars above and the glow of enemy fires below. As they neared their targets, they cut their engines and glided silently toward the ground. The only sound was the whisper of wind over the canvas wings, a ghostly hush that terrified German troops below. The moment they dropped their bombs, the silence shattered into thunder, and before anyone could return fire, they had already vanished back into the dark. Between 1942 and 1945, the Night Witches carried out more than 30,000 combat sorties and dropped over 23,000 tons of bombs. Each pilot flew mission after mission through bitter cold, enemy searchlights and tracer fire, sometimes up to 18 times in a single night. They would land, refuel, reload, and take off again without rest. The conditions were merciless: frostbitten hands, exhaustion, and constant danger. Yet the women never complained. Their determination became a symbol of Soviet resistance itself. The Germans were haunted by their presence. They claimed that the Night Witches were given special injections or potions to see in the dark. Superstition spread through the ranks. To shoot one down was an honor, and any soldier who succeeded received the Iron Cross. The fear was real, and so was their impact. These women destroyed supply depots, fuel lines, ammunition trains, and bases across the Eastern Front, especially during the battles for Stalingrad, Kuban, and Belarusia. Among them were legendary figures: Nadezhda Popova, who flew 852 missions despite being shot down multiple times; Irina Sibrova, who completed more than 1,000 sorties; Yevdokia Bershanskaya, the calm and brilliant commander who led the entire regiment; and Yekaterina Ryabova, who became one of the youngest women ever awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union. Their friendship was their strength. They lived, flew, and often died together, their bond forged in smoke and fire. The Po-2, their wooden wonder, flew so low and slow that German fighters found it nearly impossible to hit. They would stall if they tried to match its speed. Many of the women customized their planes, painting slogans or symbols of defiance on the fuselage. When the nights were calm, the sound of their engines cutting through the wind became a death omen for Nazi troops. The Germans came to dread the moment the engines went silent. They knew the witches were gliding above, moments away from striking. By the end of the war, the regiment had lost 32 members, but their legacy was eternal. 23 of them were decorated as heroes of the Soviet Union, and the unit itself received the Order of the Red Banner for exceptional bravery. When peace returned in 1945, the surviving night witches disbanded quietly, returning home to rebuild their shattered nation. Many went on to live humble lives, never boasting of their wartime heroism. For decades, their story remained buried in Soviet archives until history finally began to honor them for what they truly were: fearless warriors of the sky. They didn't fly for glory. They flew for survival, for their homeland, and for the promise that no night could ever silence their wings again.